run into some more good matchups in the modern portion of the lower bracket because he has a deck that interacts, which is not what people expected to be playing against.
I mean, part of the reason you sign up to play the Devoted Devastation tournament like this is just the assumption there'll be a lot of Ursa, that deck doesn't play a whole lot in the way of creature removal, and the ways to fight that deck largely don't involve creature removal. Mm-hmm. And if you're expecting that sort of field, then Devoted Devastation is very strong, but Death Shadow is one of, if not the most interactive deck in the format. Discard, removal, counter spells, and it's all live in this matchup.
Collins Mullen is going to start things off by casting a Once Upon a Time. He'll reveal a copy of Razorverge Thicket. So the rest of these cards are going to go away. Razorverge Thicket is the land that he will find, and he'll start things off with a land that does enter the battlefield untapped if he so chooses, and he will, along with a Noble Hierarch. So we head back over to Hobbs. We'll see if he has a discard spell or removal spell to kick things off. We know this Death Shadow deck can do a lot on the first handful of turns. He's going to start off with his own copy of Once Upon a Time. So he'll take a look at the top handful of cards as well. And we'll see where he wants to go. He's going to go towards Nurturing Peatland, a huge addition for these Death Shadow decks. Hobbs does prefer to play more of a Jund style than Grixis of his Death Shadow decks because he does get access to that Pain land. He'll play a Bauble and take a look at the top card of his deck. He might play another one here in just a second. And he will. He'll take a look at the top card of Mullen's deck now. So Hobbs is getting all of the information, all the cards on delay. Still hasn't actually played a land yet for the turn.
Game is stuck on the load screen.
Suppose he has resolved his free spell. There's a Verdant Catacombs.
Oh, that's a game action.
That sure is. That's actually a fourth game action there for Hobbs. This will draw a couple of cards off of those baubles. And now Mullen will be... Well, he's going to cycle... Whoa, he's going to cycle Street Wraith now, too. Okay. Before Mullen even gets to take his... Okay, now Mullen can do something. Maybe he was looking for a Fatal Push.
Yes.
Okay. That was a pretty wild set of turns there for Hobbs. Excuse me, set of game action since it was his first turn of the game.
Interested to see what he left on top there because there's such a strong incentive to try to find Fatal Push in that spot, and he could have shuffled away whatever the top card was with the Verdant Catacombs and elected not to.
Yeah, that is the question. For Mullen, he'll go towards another copy of Noble Hierarch and just simply pass the turn back. So not the most explosive of starts here for Collins at all, as now Hobbs will draw a card. Not going to sack that fetch land just yet. Remember, he does have Nurturing Peatland in hand, and now he'll bobble himself, third bobble of the game. Take a look at that top card. The cantrip on delay. Now Hobbs will sacrifice the fetch land, not interested in that top card. We'll see if it'll be an Overgrown Tomb or a Blood Crypt here. Again, I suppose he has 4 colors, so we could searching up a blue source as well, and there's a Watery Grave, so there we go.
Very interesting to see what Hobbs is up to. Like I said, that first turn there is awfully suspicious of electing to draw the card and not having a removal spell.
That is the Nurturing Peatland. And it looks like he may just be passing the turn back. So he has seen, let's see, Cycle Street Wraith, 2 baubles, third bauble on the way as far as the triggers and card drawing is concerned. And he Once Upon a Time, I mean, that's a lot of extra cards.
Well, it's possible that Hobbs is taking a position of, I can't really cut Mullen off of mana at that point. That ship has sailed. So if I do have removal spells, I'm going to save it for the marquee combo pieces and not just trying to cut Mullen off of resources.
Okay.
Needs to be a little bit more precise with his removal at this point.
That is a boatload of cards. Let's see what this is going to be here for Collins on the end step. It'll be a copy of Eldamri's Call. Could Stubborn Denial here if you're Hobbs. That Noble Hierarch that's untapped is summoning sick at the moment. But do you care to counter this card or perhaps counter what is found with that card?
Well, if the thing you're getting is if your answer is Stubborn Denial, then it's this or nothing because he's finding a creature. Looks like it's going to resolve here. It's tough because for Hobbs not having a creature, that was a really great spot to cash in a 4 spike on a high value target. So I really am interested to see what's going on with his hand. Cause
You and me both.
no discard, no removal, and now no counterspell either. Hasn't played any of his interaction after keeping 7.
And there's the snow-covered plains there, and now here is Oko. Oko is going to get hit with a Drown in the Lock. Okay. So this is a very innovative build. 1 main deck copy of Drown in the Lock here for Hobbs. The follow-up is a Duskroach Recruiter. So we head back over to Hobbs. Again, he is 4 color, so he's got some innovative cards and a very innovative build. Stubborn Owl is a 3 of in his main deck. 2 copies of Once Upon a Time. We've seen the baubles already. There are plenty of those. 2-teamer Battle Rage, 4 Thought Scours, 3 Inquisition of Kozilek, 4 Thought Seizes. So given how many cards he's seen, you're a little surprised not to see a discard spell, but there's another Water Grave that's going to enter the battlefield untapped off of the fetch land. Hobbs' life total is getting a little bit lower, which is of course where he wants to be given the deck that he is playing. So I suppose, pardon me, that's a step in the right direction.
Teamer Battle Rage already in hand. Would not take a whole lot for Hobbs to have lethal set up for next turn.
And there is the Death Shadow.
Saw a Blood Crypt in hand, so he will have access to red mana.
Well, it's not the biggest Death Shadow we've ever seen, but do keep in mind that there is a Nurturing Peatland to help grow the Death Shadow by Hobbs dealing himself a point of damage.
Something to note about these Devoted Devastation decks now, with the absence of Collected Company, they need a turn to be able to go off because Devoted Druid has Summoning Sickness, and you don't have to worry about anything being played on your own turn by and large.
Well, this is what we found with that Eldamri's Call. It's a Ranger Captain of Eos. That's going to go get a Giver of Runes. So Mullen is trying to set up shop to protect, it looks like, a Devoted Druid. Now there's a Giver of Runes on the battlefield. No good attacks to be had, so we're going to head back Hobbs' way. He's going to at least take 1 and follow this up with an Assassin's Trophy on the Giver of Runes. So, bye-bye Giver. One thing to know right now is Hobbs will be untapping and heading to his turn is he does not have to worry about removal at all.
No, this Devoted Devastation deck is pure engine. It's pure combo.
Not a single card to be scared of at all. The spells here are 4 Eldamri's Call, 4 Once Upon a Time, 4 Finale of Devastation, so you're not going to see any Path to Exiles here, as there's a Thought Scour now. Here for Hobbs. So in that respect, when you see the deck list, all you can think to yourself is, nice, my Death Shadow's never going to die once it's on the battlefield. I don't have to worry about going for it with Teamer Battle Rage and think something poor is going to happen.
Yeah, Hobbs gets to play the matchup broadly with a lot of information because Mullen cannot assemble a kill at instant speed. He has to put stuff on the battlefield and get to untap, and he really doesn't have that much in the way of interaction or really any instants at all that affect the battlefield. So when the coast is clear for Hobbs, he can be pretty safe knowing that not only is his turn going to be fine, it's really rare that he's going to have to worry about the potential of getting killed on Mullen's turn unless the information's already out there.
Yep. And that's a pretty good feeling to have.
Yeah, it's something, especially with the deck lists being available at this point, players having access to each other's deck lists, having that level of information really changes the shape of the game. Hobbs knows that he can just go for it in a bunch of spots, not worry about interaction inside of combat, and really not have to worry about getting killed on the way back unless Mullen is already representing the infrastructure to do it.
Oh, one thing that Hobbs is going to think about here is that if I do attack, I want to make sure I don't die on the counterattack because he's starting to knock himself a little bit low here. So he'll play a fetch land. Now he'll attack with a copy of Death Shadow. He's at 8 right now, so Death Shadow is a 5/5. He can turn into a 6/6 at a moment's notice with Nurturing Peatland. That's not hard to do. The question is, does he want to? Well, he's going to sacrifice the Verdant Catacombs first. He's going to do a little bit of math here. He's got to make sure that he does have a Blood Crypt in the deck to go get just some way to generate some red mana for Temur Battle Rage. You mentioned Blood Crypt. He does have a copy in his hand, so he's just going to get a basic Swamp, Will Hobbs. And now he's just going to draw after the damage is dealt. Looks like he's going to draw from another Bauble. So no lethal attack there, but ideally it will happen next turn. As we go back Mullen's way, he'll draw a card. Let's see what Collins can put together here, because he's in some serious trouble now. Not really seeing anything to get him to the infinite mana puzzle.
The thing to look out for if you're Hobbs is just walking ballistic can kill you from this spot.
Very, very true. It's a very good point.
And also now with this hit down to 2, another extra piece of this is Hobbs, I do not believe, can access red mana untapped next turn. He might be another turn away from being able to do anything with Temur Battle Rage.
Yeah, and Deputy Detention probably makes things a little bit difficult. Yeah, because he's a 2, you can't play Blood Crypt untapped. It's actually a very, very good point. Hobbs is going to draw a card, and Deputy Detention is actually going to work. So is this game getting away from him? Because this might be a Vizier after combat too, and it might just be a ragtag bunch of creatures that'll help cross the finish line here for Collins Mullen more than anything else. So here's a Thought Scour. Couple of cards headed over to the graveyard. Hobbs is going to untap. And this looks like bad news for young John Hobbs. Thought about sacrificing the Ranger Captain, and no need. Hobbs is going to just concede the game. So, Collins Mullen is going to win game number 1 here over Jonathan Hobbs, as Devoted Devastation is going to kind of steal one there against 4-color Death Shadow. What a weird game.
Well, I mean, Hobbs' opening sequence was frankly bizarre, of the ability to shuffle away whatever the top card was, and then just not playing any one-mana spells. I don't know if he could have toggled the am I attacking or blocking sort of thing better, but Mullen with a heads-up play of just getting the attack in, cutting off the ability for Hobbs to get red mana on his turn for a potentially lethal Temur Battle Rage, and then Hobbs, he was signaling that he didn't have much in the way of removal interaction for several turns and was not able to survive combat the following turn.
Yeah, very, very strange game as that one did play out, and Collins Mullen didn't do anything all that impressive given what his deck can do with regards to infinite mana and Walking Ballista and everything else. He just played some creatures and ended up winning the game, which sometimes can be good enough, let me tell you. So we go to the sideboards here. We will start with Jonathan Hobbs, who's got 3 Veil of Summer, 3 Mystical Dispute, 3 Damping Spheres, and then some 2-ofs here in Plague Engineer and Disdainful Stroke, an Assassin's Trophy, and an additional copy of Drown the Loch.
I like the additional copies of Removal and Assassin's Trophy and Drown the Loch. You can be a little bit too jammed up on 2-mana spells, but Hobbs' deck is pretty lean on the curve. I think he can afford to get a little bit more expensive. And the 2 copy of Plague Engineer here as well, shutting down mana, Vizier, a number of cards in Mullen's strategy.
Collins Mullen has 4 Path to Exile, 3 Mirren Crusader, 3 Veil of Summer, 2 Collector Roof, 2 Disdainful Stroke, and a Dismember.
Interested in Veil of Summer, Mirren Crusader, and Path to Exile. I don't know if he completely wants to get away from being a combo deck in this matchup, because that's a lot of cards to bring in, and I just don't know at a certain point if you run out of space for that sort of thing. But he's got 10. I mean, honestly, even the Dismember is attractive. 11 appealing options. It'll be interesting to see how he sideboards.
Well, those are the options there for both players. Game number 2 going to be underway here in just a bit, as the winner of this match is still alive. The loser is headed home. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But first, we got to sell you some stuff. We got to get them 15% off all their online orders over the holidays, buddy.
Yeah. You can head on over right now check out the holiday sale. If you use promo code SCG15 at checkout, you receive 15% off all online orders. And by all online orders, asterisk, we mean some, but not all. Some restrictions may apply, so make sure to double check before you check out. But if everything's above board, 15% off using promo code SCG15, StarCityGames.com.
You know why we had to put that? Some restrictions may apply. You.
Why? Yeah, because I'm just in.
Because you're always trying to get them.
Oh, one day when I'm done with the commentary, I'm going to talk about some of the ways that I jammed up SCG on sales and promos.
There it is.
Surprising to me that the relationship isn't more sour, because there's been they've taken some lumps.
You've given some beatdowns?
Given some of them I've revealed on the air
that
you at home can use to get one over on Star City Games. Some of them I have not.
You got to keep some close to the chest.
Some of them were so bad that they're no longer permitted.
That's true. That's true.
But that's for another time.
You're a wily goblin. That's what you are. Crafty.
I'm just if you screw up something in your promotion, the first one in line. First one in line.
Now we have to put asterisks on our graphics.
Some restrictions may apply. Doesn't mean that they do apply. It means that Star City may want to apply restrictions if you are like me, figuring out what the restrictions should have been but weren't.
That's correct.
StarCityGames.com.
That's correct. I'll take a look at the bottom bracket as we are in the elimination rounds of day number 2 of competition. Again, we're doing a little double elimination here. Winners bracket play standard. Lower bracket is going to play modern, so that's where we are right now. These players have the opportunity to play standard, took some losses there, so now they're in their modern portion. You see on the right side of the bracket for round number 3 of coverage, Hobbs, Mullen, they're playing right now. They'll play the winner of Battarioni and Zach Allen. Again, if we have time to jump that way, we certainly will. And then the next matches, we'll be bringing you Dilks playing Amulet Titan against Harvey playing Titan Shift, and Sasser playing Humans against Donegan playing Devoted Devastation. So Patrick and I are on modern duty while Matthias Hunt and Emma Handy are rocking and rolling with standard.
So an easy way to break down that bracket is imagine we have four player single elimination brackets on either side. The winner of each of those 4-person brackets will square off against the loser of the players in the top bracket.
That's right.
The winner of those 2 matches will join the top 4 alongside the 2 winners of the top bracket.
There you go. And we want to show you all of our elimination matches, so we're going to do exactly that. Someone is knocked out of the tournament, you are going to watch it unfold, and more importantly, you're going to watch someone move on to keep their Players' Championship dreams alive. It could be Collins Mullen, who's currently up a game right now, playing Devoted Devastation against Jonathan Hobbs, playing 4-color Death Shadow. Hobbs will be on the play here in game number 2 of competition, and we'll see if he's able to find a hand that he likes. Green light given, Street Wraith cycled. Underway here in game number 2 as Hobbs is going to kick this thing off at 16 already before passing the turn back over to Mullen. We'll see what Mullen wants to do on his first turn of the game. Plenty of options in a deck like this with Giver of Runes, Noble Hierarch, and a couple other mana accelerants. So he should have no shortage of options. He'll go with the Gilded Goose. That one's a new one, but a very, very good one from Throne of Eldraine. This will be a Thought Scour here from Hobbs. So 2 cards headed to the graveyard. Inquisition of Kozilek in a Swamp. They'll go away. A couple new cards will come to Hobbs' hand. One from the Thought Scour, one from the Draw Step, as we head to his second turn of the game.
I'm a little surprised, though, that Gilded Goose would be considered better for Birds of Paradise for this sort of deck.
Yeah? Maybe some artifact considerations.
Maybe.
There's an Inquisition of Kozilek. We'll take a little look-ski-poo. There's a Giver of Runes, among other things. Looks like a handful of lands as well.
Yeah, I think it's Oko, Witness, Giver, 3 lands.
Well, when you are playing Oko, it sure does make Gilded Goose look pretty darn good, so that does make some sense, I'll say.
Yeah, that's the major upside, is you get, some food synergies.
That you do. Polluted Delta is going to get sacrificed here for Hobbs. He'll get himself a Blood Crypt. something that he was missing in the last game. When you are playing 4 colors with this deck, you are putting a huge reliance on your fetch lands being able to find the right cards, and heaven forbid you Thought Scour away your Blood Crypt.
Mm-hmm.
You're without red mana then. Femur Battle Rage off the table then. That's bad news bears. This is a Dismember. I'm going to take care of Goose. You can see this deck has no problem dealing in self-damage.
Or interacting. I mean,
Yep.
Hobbs has gotten off to a great start here. He's taken the best card out of Mullen's hand. He has stunted Mullen's mana development. Now all you need is a threat card to try to wrap this game up.
A Giver of Runes, a Breeding Pool enters the battlefield tapped, and Mullins will pass the turn back over to Hobbs. Hobbs is going to fire off a Mishra's Bob. We'll take a look at Mullins' top card of his deck. Next up here for Hobbs is a Nurturing Peatland. That is a Gurmag Angler, and keep in mind that the Oko that Mullen had is in the graveyard thanks to the discard spell earlier in the game. So now Hobbs has his clock on the battlefield there and the real big fish. He'll delve away some cards, keep some in the graveyard. And we'll go back over to Mullen as Hobbs will draw a card from the Mishra's Bauble trigger. That delayed cantripping of the artifact is now resolved. Mullen is tapping 3 mana with some confidence. Is this another Oko? It's going to be an Eternal Witness, maybe looking to get back Oko. And it will. So the powerful 2-1 from 5th Dawn has done its job.
And is it a little dissonant with Mullen's core strategy? Oko is just there more for raw power than any real synergy that's going on with the combo.
Mm-hmm.
That said, it is really rough for Death Shadow to slog through that card if it resolves.
Yeah, not a fun card for Death Shadow to play against at all. You think of the namesake card in Death Shadow being turned into a 3/3 Elk, losing all of that text. Same thing can be said for Gurmag Angler. This will be a Drown in the Lock to take care of the Giver of Runes. It can't protect itself, so it's going to bite the dust as we head back over to Hobbs now. Hobbs is going to fire off another copy of Thoughtseize. Okay then, John. He's going to take that Oko. Just a couple of lands hiding out there for Collins Mullen as Hobbs is going to fall down to 7. So you see the early and consistent interaction here from Hobbs. Now it's the attack with a real clock as Hobbs has fallen down to 6 from all the spells that he's played this game and all the lands that have entered the battlefield untapped. The follow-up is a Polluted Delta and a passing the turn back. Now I don't think Eternal Witness is going to be able to get it done on its own, but stranger things have happened as we head back over to Mullen.
Well, blocking's not going to get you very far, even if it's unlikely that you can win this game by conventional attacks. Although this is all predicated on Mullen drawing any spell at all to begin with. His hand after that discard spell, just a bunch of lands.
Yeah, it looks like he may have a copy of Once Upon a Time in hand. That's got some serious work to do to get him back into this game. He'll sacrifice a Flooded Strand, will Collins. And that will be a Snow-Covered Plains. So here comes next for the member of the MTG Grindcast, a podcast picking up in popularity for the member of Team Lotus Box. Now there is Once Upon a Time. So, looks like that may be resolving, and it is. So take a look at the top handful of cards. This is a deck that is saturated with creatures. So perhaps he's able to find the one that he's looking for. And that's an Eternal Witness.
The damage race on the board right now is extremely close, assuming that Hobbs is on nothing. Because remember, Mullen still has that food token. So taking a point from the Flood Strand knocks him down to 12. He goes up to 15 if he ever sacrifices the food. That's exactly 3 hits from the Gurmag Angler. Hobbs is dead in exactly 3 hits to Eternal Witness, so it's going to be really close.
Hobbs is going to draw a card from the Nurturing Peatland. And that would trigger Revolt if he did have something like a Fatal Push, and he's going to sacrifice Polluted Delta and fall down to at least 5. So does he have Fatal Push to defend himself against this Eternal Witness? Well, that is a basic swamp, so What are we looking for? This is the fear of playing 4 colors. Okay.
Just any land at all.
Well,
Maybe you'd like to get the swamp.
Well,
But
the swamp is on the bottom.
right. Well, the swamp's exiled.
Oh, sure, from the angler. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what those cards were. Graveyard facing him, exile pile from the angler, and now there's an overgrown tomb as Hobbs is at 3. Heading back over to Hobbs now. He's coming in with the angler. Tournament life on the line, folks. Hobbs loses this match. His tournament, not just his day, his tournament is over. This is a Thought Scour. He'll target himself. 2 cards headed to the graveyard. Plague Engineer among them. He'll draw a new card. Angler is coming on in. It'll be an attack there for 5. Mullen's going to fall down to 7, it looks like. Do remember that Mullen does have that food token, and he's going to sacrifice it. He's going to go up to 10.
But 10 means that any chump blocker allows him to survive Team or Battle Rage.
Mm-hmm. Very important to mention.
Also, a Noble Hierarch here would represent a lethal attack.
Well, that's a very good point as well. You don't think a Noble Hierarch is something that enables lethal attack very often, but we are certainly in that situation given that Hobbs has dealt himself so much damage. Here we go. It's in... Oh, boy.
Ooh.
Mirren Crusader is a good one there for Collins Mullen. Something that he and his team identified as a weakness that Urza decks have. A weakness that these Death Shadow decks have. And pro black and pro green are kind of where you want to be. Hobbs is going to draw and concede the game. Collins Mullen is going to win this game and match over Jonathan Hobbs 2-0. Devoted Devastation will take care of 4-color Death Shadow. For Collins Mullen, his tournament, his dreams of winning this title are still alive. And for Jonathan Hobbs, his tournament is